It's the BBPTV show since 2012, where amazing guests share their digital adventures. Who will we meet today? Small biz influencer, up-and-coming trendsetter, accomplished author? You never know who'll be dropping by. And now, here's your host, Elaine Lindsay, the bionic glamourpreneur with Truel Social Media, who's the second most curious person on the planet.
Hello. I'm happy to be back. It's wonderful to be here in this brand new year. So I'm going to say Happy New Year. This is our first show of 2021. And today I'm really excited to introduce you to my guest, Mia Voss.
Hey, lady.
Really wonderful. Mia and I have been in each other's orbit for many, many years now.
Yeah. I was thinking when I heard the 2012, I was like, oh my gosh, since Google Plus days.
Yeah. We've, it was Google Plus, and that's actually how this show started.
Yeah.
Because it was a hangout show. And that's why it was called Business Banter Plus. The plus had to do with Google. Now the plus is just because it's plus whatever amuses.
Plus all that.
Absolutely. But for you, our audience, I just want to share with you, you're going to find this a very interesting show. Mia Voss is, and this is quite an odd list. She's a lifestyle blogger. I can say super duper lifestyle blogger. She is an activist, and she's very outspoken. She's very opinionated, which is why we get along so well. She's also a brand advocate, brand ambassador is the word.
And advocate too. I'll take that.
Advocate, of course, but definitely brand ambassador. You can always see Mia all over the place. I guess mostly Colorado, in new cars and testing out all kinds of goodies, which is phenomenal. And she gives you really good information about that. And, okay, here's the one that I guarantee you are not going to guess. Mia is in the construction trade. I want to say it like that.
When you say it.
Wow, it does. It does, because looking at you, you're this lovely feminine lady. Not that construction can't be feminine, because it can. But I'm going to stop talking for a moment, and I'm going to get you to expand on that, because when we talked about doing the show, you said, well, I'm going to need some time to get out of my hard hat.
And you're like, what? The back of my head is a hot mess, by the way, because I floofed it right beforehand.
Yeah, good.
It is a good floof, and I did have to move the time too, because what I do is I go on job sites and I do what's called punch list management. So I not only am I on job sites, but I'm on job sites bossing men around, and it's friggin' amazing. I can't even tell you. I've been doing it for 20 years and I still can't get over, like, I get paid to boss men around. Shit. It's awesome.
That's exactly why I wanted you to say it, because I kept looking and going, a punch what? What does that mean?
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you real quick? Because it's everybody actually does it. They just don't know it. So when you build a new house, or when there's a new construction being built, a list is made of the deficiencies that need to be fixed before the completion of the project, and that's called a punch list. So, like, let's say if you built a new house, they come in and give you that opportunity to come through and check that quality, of course, based on the product that you bought. That's always the rub, is that a lot of people are trying to get something more than what they paid for. And that's where I come in to be the third party outside set of eyes. So the developers and sometimes the builders actually bring me in because they're so close into the project that they don't see. I'll come in, I'll be like, what's that happy horse crap right there? Like, there's a big hole in the drywall, and it's because they're just too entrenched in it. So yeah, and it's I've been doing that since 2001.
Wow.
It is my 20-year.
Yeah, 20-year anniversary. Well, hey, hats off to you.
Thank you.
It's so fascinating to me because for decades, my husband was in lighting. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Never heard it called punch list.
Sure.
But know what you're talking about. And one builder who will remain nameless, a few people went in, they were delivering beautiful chandelier and went into the house. And my husband or the guy that was with him said, "Oh, that's really odd. I thought they had a window there." And people said, "Yes, what's wrong?" They missed a whole beautiful window on the side of the house.
Holy crap. Okay, you got me beat just now. Wow. And they're all like, wait, what? Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. I find that so juicy, by the way. I would be like,
oh, good. I like to hear that you find it juicy.
I do. Well, I do.
It's so cool, and it's so outside of anything I do or anything I knew you did.
Yeah.
Although a couple of times we talked about something and you did say you were going to the job site, and I thought, oh, are they building another house? Like, what's going on?
Right. Yeah.
But
she builds a lot of houses, doesn't she?
Yes. My God, how often do you move, woman?
Yeah.
Poor Gidget has to get used to more stairs all the time.
Right. My little Frenchie. Exactly. What stairs now? Totally. But yeah, that's something I've been doing since, like I said, 20 years. And but the thing the hardest lesson I learned was in 2008 here in the States when we had the downturn. And I mean, I was hand over fist busy up until then. And then it was like a faucet shut off, and it left me in pretty concerning straits based on that. So then I got into that Scarlett O'Hara, as God is my witness, I'll never go hungry again. And this was, again, like 12 years ago. So people weren't really doing these multiple revenue streams. And in fact, it was somewhat frowned upon, especially the age that I grew up in and you grew up in as well, of, oh, can't pick a lane. You can't choose shit. I'm like, nah, I want money. I like money. So when this is not going, and thank God I still have it because of the pandemic. So I'm considered, even in lockdowns, it is considered essential. So I just make sure I drive with my safety vest on.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And I've seen you quite often with that safety vest, which is very cool.
And the boss's hard hat. It makes me happy.
Yeah. Let's back up though.
Sure.
Because I don't think Mia, the child, thought she was going to be doing anything to do with construction.
Oh gosh, no. Mm-mm.
You were 6. What did you want to be?
I'm probably going to take it into a serious direction if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I had an incredibly abusive background as a child. And so I will just tell you, I was just trying to survive. So I wish I had a good, shiny answer for you, but that should encourage people too, that a lot of us just age out and then figure out what we want to be and weren't necessarily encouraged on that. So sorry to...
No, thank you. Thank you so much for that honesty, because I wasn't looking for shiny answers.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was looking for real, and
that was it.
Years, that's one thing about you. You are always real. And I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
But getting into construction, where were you prior to construction?
So again, with the age out thing, that's interesting because when I graduated from high school early, and I also had these very religious parents. So just things were not pleasant at all. So I started working. They had those programs in high school where you could get the job half day. And so I got assigned to an insurance agency when I was 16. And then I just had been working since I was 16. So by the time I turned 18 and I graduated early, I got my insurance agent's license. Oh, wow. And I have to say that I think that's when the storytelling piece of my world really came into play because I know everybody sort of busts on insurance. But when you think about it, especially with any kind, with commercial or personal insurance, you are learning everything about that person's life to make sure that they are covered. So it's a relationship. You're figuring out everything that they own. Do you have really valuable jewelry? Do you have, equipment, electronics? And for businesses, like what are your risks? So that was the first time I really got to learn all the different stories of what each business had to tell.
Yeah, it would, and that would fascinate me because, I'm super curious.
Super curious, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great way to have a very robust life in business because you've got all these different folks that are coming into your world. So that was my first career until I was about 27. I had a quick little gig in the cosmetic industry when I moved to New York City. I grew up in Illinois. I moved to New York City when I was 23. And then I did do a little bit of a jog off of the insurance when I sort of just got tired of it and worked for the company that did all the cosmetics for Bath and Body Works, Victoria's Secret, all these fun companies. And then I moved to Boulder and just took a break for a while. So, yeah.
That's such a change from New York.
I'm a big accidental reinventor.
I see that. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And accidental in the sense of, of course there's consequences to everything that you choose, but more not fearful of the curiosity. So the curiosity comes into play too. And you go, what if I did this? So, and actually the way I even got into being interested in construction, when I moved to Boulder, I was so tired of corporate. I'd been living in New York City for 7 years in these very formative years, 23 to 30. And I was like, F the system. I have got to get off this crazy ride. And I bought a house cleaning business and I checked out for 2 years. I was in sweats and overalls and I ran this team of house cleaners in Boulder. And that's when I learned about design. Because when you have to clean a house, you figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a weird little bobble, I know, but it was a spiritual break, a mental break. I didn't put on anything dressy for 2 years. I was in, crunchy Boulder and which is totally different than New York. So, but yeah, it really was when I learned how things work in a home and in good design. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And that probably spills over into the lifestyle blogging as well.
Absolutely. And that one was kind of accidental too, because I ended up getting hired by an architecture firm just because I had really good secretarial skills. And so I was willing to switch and try something new. And then that's when I learned about Punch, because they were having me look at the drawings and help them out with doing what are called as-builts. So just to give you a quick one on that. So when a building is built, and this was 20 years ago when I was doing this, but they have the way that the building is designed. And then there's the way that the building is built. For instance, the window that's missing.
Yeah.
That's as-built. That's not design. And so I learned how to read construction drawings and, figure out how to take what was the modification. And I would literally find the page and tape it onto the page. This was before a lot of the automated systems, obviously. And that's when I learned even more about design. And then my employers, when I ended up quitting, they're like, can you come back and help us with Punch? And just, they said, can you come and, just help us make these lists? And that's how that got started 20 years ago. Wow. Yeah. But then I had to switch with the downturn. And so that's when I got into social media, Google Plus, doing the brand ambassador work.
Yeah. And what led you, to the brand ambassador? Because it's not something that everybody did. Everybody who got into social and especially Google Plus, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things, but not so much brand ambassadors.
Sure. And the piece that started around the same time you had your show was, even though I was doing work and being in social media, I loved the storytelling piece of it. So that's when I started just like on a lark, like, how about I'll get on Google Plus. I'll start a little show, a little storytelling show.
Yeah.
And, loved hearing what people were doing. And so that I was doing from 2013 until 2015, in addition to just doing my own work, my punch work and so forth. So when, Google Plus was starting to pan out a little bit.
Lab.
It was starting. Yes, they were they, oh man, they had such a good thing. And it was so good. Turned into a bad boyfriend. We had to break up with the bad boyfriend because it wasn't good. But when that really started was when I decided to go to Italy in 2015, and I was right. So that's really the piece. So I had interviewed some folks that were with a company called The Winerist in 2014.
Okay.
And I love that she had this online publication that brought in wineries and, different places around Europe. And I thought, God, I really want to go there. What can I do? How can I make a lot more money to go do this? And I thought, why don't I leverage my audience and not only my audience, but because I'm still considered even now like a micro influencer. I don't have big, huge size queen numbers. But I decided to gather all the numbers of the people that I knew. So I had this board of influencers, I call it. And I said, I had 5 people and said, if I go on this trip, will you share this out? So I sort of had this guaranteed, trusted group of folks. And then that's how I sold it to people. So I ended up going, I paid for the ticket, but I ended up traveling in Italy for 3 weeks, just based on, they hosted me here in exchange for me writing and talking about them. So that's kind of how it started.
That sounds great.
It's so fun.
I can't remember if you ran into some of our G+ friends.
Oh yeah, Nazim,
Nazim,
Nazim. They were a huge part of that, and then their introduction. So I landed in Milan, and I'm still good friends with Nazim. Landed in Milan. He picks me up, takes me. I stay with he and Betty, and takes me all around Milan. Then puts me on a train, and then I get on the train and go to Venice and Pio. Takes me around Venice, and then I got on a train, and then some other connections.
Ugo and
pardon?
Did you meet Ugo?
I didn't. I did meet.
He was traveling a lot.
He was Heidi. Heidi the German and her husband Mark. Do you remember them? They picked me up, and I was traveling around Umbria with them, and then some other connections, and then met Nazim back in Genoa, and just made this whole loop of like this. Where's Mia? And let's pick her up. It was
great watching.
It was so much fun. It was so much fun. And that was right when Meerkat and Periscope started. And so that really changed up the atmosphere of how you live streamed. And if you didn't have an iOS, you really couldn't. But I was still doing a lot of the shows, live streaming. Debbie Davis, if you remember her, helped me produce a lot of those too. So that connection out to people was super crucial. And I think it sort of prepared a lot of us for what's happened in the last year.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because those of us were like, so what? We not so what,
those
obviously.
of us who came from the start,
mm-hmm.
we were all like, oh, yay, now everybody else is on board.
Yeah, because we would do video calls and they're like, what? And now, so the transition, obviously the rest of it is just devastating, but we were at least able to easily translate and stay in touch with people and not have there be a lag.
And in Boulder, in Colorado, you get weather somewhat like us. And quite frankly, in the middle of the winter, when we have 10 feet of snow and it's 40 below, I'd much rather see you on video than go trucking anywhere.
I am with you on that. And somebody just posted today and said, so how bad do you think it's going to be for all of us when we get back together and with our social skills? Right. And like, kind of like we are going to be like, kind of, duh,
Well, we're all going to have to put on pants.
we're all going to have to put on pants. We're going to have to figure out like what's happening
The
with
back of our head.
You know, I think there's going to be a continued freedom. And I think there is going to be throwing out of a lot of paradigms that don't work any longer.
Oh,
and I think there's going to be a lot more freedom of throwing away the trappings of feeling like you have to go places.
Not only that, but the whole rigidity of fashion and having to be presented a certain way. And, you know, people can take you seriously whether you are in your pajamas or not.
Totally. You know what I did? I have these really cute pair of shoes, and they're sandals, and I bought them in teal and pink. And I got this idea from Lulu, Charlie's daughter, who about 2 years ago, she would show up without. Well, that's what I did. I wore a teal one and I wore a pink one, and I did not give a shit. I wore it out to drop off off the ballots. But Lulu started doing this about 2 years ago, and I remember her showing up with mismatching socks. And I was like, what's up with that? And then I realized the freedom of not searching for these matching socks, whatever, just put those on. Game changer.
Oh, and it's funny, my son, who's going to be 39 in a couple of weeks, his godfather used to wear 2 different socks, like from the time we were in high school.
Yeah. What have we been doing, Elaine?
Yeah.
It's time to, and I agree. But what I love, I watched an interview with Amy Schumer, who's a comedian.
Yeah.
And she's just so, I mean, you think that you and I are kind of, you know, balls out on being honest. She's really, you know, uncomfortable to some people, but she speaks so truthfully about so many things, most recently about motherhood. And so she was interviewing Ayanna Pressley, who is a politician here in the States. And she recently had shaved her head. She's a beautiful Black woman. She had, I can't remember what the alopecia. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so now she's sporting this lovely bald head, but she does her makeup beautifully. And Amy Schumer was saying, yeah, I don't really get into that. And Ayanna was saying, like, for her, that's her cape. So everybody choosing, like you and I were talking about our lipstick, how much we love it, our eyebrows. So choosing what we choose to have our superpower, our cape, whatever it is. And it could be nothing. And that's okay too. Well, you got to put some clothes.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, let's not go there.
Not an Emperor's New Clothes stitch.
No, you guys already have that one in a weird way down there.
Not for long. Oh,
yeah.
Girl, I'm counting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are counting. Mm-hmm. And my husband thinks it's really funny because CNN seems to be his go-to. And
your husband or
my husband?
Okay, gotcha.
Because he I think he just likes to get me riled, because the minute that toddler in chief starts talking, I just lose it.
I know it. It's instantaneous. It is, and of course, the last week has been.
Oh my God!
It's been a game changer. I will tell you one thing that I love that came to fruition is this was a year, and you have to see the benefits of what these horrific conditions have been, which are people plugged in more, realizing the plight of a lot of folks that we weren't paying attention to. So in some ways, as combative as it is, there's a lot more understanding or talking, but then also a lot more boundaries for a lot of people. So, last week we had this what could be considered in some ways, without the death toll, another 9/11 of unprecedented circumstances at the Capitol.
Absolutely.
So one thing that I did last year that I had not done as much, I was very chapped in 2016. Well, this year I had a friend get me involved in local politics and canvassing. And so I worked on this campaign for a local representative named Jason Crow. So people may recognize his name now because he was the gentleman in the Capitol last week that was calming people down, putting on their gas masks. He's a former Army Ranger. So we were involved like with weekly calls with him, with making phone calls and canvassing. And then to see this candidate just come shining through. He was just on NPR this morning.
Now, that's fabulous.
Yeah, it's very, very neat to see. So you have to find those. You have to find those bright spots, and then, of course, I think the biggest difference for a lot of us is that when this changeover it happens, we're not going to go back to sleep.
No,
big difference.
We can't.
Yeah, no.
And the best thing about the horrible thing is the fact that it shone a light on all the inequality, and not just in the U.S. I've said this over and over. It's not the U.S. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And we all have to wake up.
Yeah.
And it's really, that's the good thing that came out of it. It's
I agree.
Heartbreaking to me, some of what people had to go through. And as a woman, and I said to you earlier, I did not grow up a feminist, not my thing. But I don't understand women supporting that kind of mindset.
I cannot explain it. I will tell you, it is mind-boggling. What's a couple things that are mind-boggling? One, how many people voted for him in 2016, and the percentage of white women that voted for him rose by 4%.
Yeah, I know.
Don't even. So there's a lot of people that'll say, and I did this on my podcast, the Agree to Disagree. I can't agree to disagree with you.
No.
You stand for everything that it goes against everything I believe in. And in addition to getting involved in the political system, I got much more involved in Black Lives Matter and racial justice, and have had to, it's kind of, I call it the blue pill, red pill. Like I can't unsee and unhear.
You can't.
And
you cannot.
That's right. And you're right. It's not just the states. And last week, what was interesting, the people that don't see last week is a stark representation of the difference in how white people and Black people are treated. You have your head up your ass. I'm
sorry. The very first thing that I said when I saw the footage was, why are they standing back?
That's right.
Why are they being so gentle,
docile, passive? Selfies, opening.
Oh my God! Yes.
And if you have been to the States and been to the Capitol, which I have, it didn't roll that way, folks. Like that is not what you saw. There's so many different elements to it, and I'm so I'm so encouraged to see the change now. If the candidates in Georgia had not won last week, I can tell you that I would be in a lot different mindset, because that was such a game changer, which we only got to celebrate for about 2 hours. Before things went.
And the unfortunate thing that I had set up here and was, he told you exactly what he was going to do. Okay. The little 3-year-old, he didn't just pick up his bat and ball. He picked up the whole goddamn baseball field and decided, I can't play. Nobody's playing. I'm bombing it all, which is just
bomb it all. That's right. It'll be interesting to see too, because in addition to him, you can see it so clearly and markedly of him having that speech. And then another example of what's going on here in Colorado, we have Jason Crow, who is just this shining example. And then we have a woman named Lauren Boebert, who's a newly elected, also state representative in her mid-30s. She's a hot ass mess. I'll just let you know. Super NRA, super gun control. She really appeals to a lot of those people. Well, hopefully she's going to get bounced, because not only did she tweeted, this is 1776, the morning of the event. Then she got on the floor and made a speech about my constituents are right outside. She did a video the week before walking through the streets of DC, proclaiming how she was going to bring her Glock. They were already onto her and saying, listen, Miss Thang, it's not that kind of party here in DC. Yeah. And then one more thing, she tweeted during the insurrection and was saying, the speaker left the house, the speaker's doing this. And they had specifically said, do not put out any information. So that kind of reckoning is what's due right now for, everybody's that's on the other side.
There must be a comeuppance.
There needs, yeah. Yes, exactly. And so, there's a little bit of a attitude right now, like, oh, well, now look who's all gunning for retribution. We're like, listen, you can't do that. And
it's not retribution, it's consequences.
It's consequences. Amen.
The average toddler understands if you do something bad, there are consequences. I don't know why they don't. And the last thing we won't belabor this, but the last thing I thought
we had to get it out though, because it's just happening right now.
Yeah. So and this is politicians everywhere, but those that are finally, sauntering off the bus at the last minute. Well, no. You rode the bus to the last stop. Don't think you're just going to blend into the crowd and
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's also not about, and that's the gaslighting piece that tends to happen when you call somebody on their bullshit and then they're like, why are you so sensitive? It's a version of that. And,
yes, it is.
And women are so familiar with it because it happens to us so frequently. And it's baked into our system. Into our society. Well, it's getting unbaked, I'm extricating that, but that's a version of it of, why just let it go. Why can't you let it go? And it's really, I'm hoping it's the reckoning is going to happen too of like, hey, get out of jail cards with this stuff. We got to clean this up.
And that, I think that's a really important point, because for every you, for every me, who aren't going to let it go, who are not going to stand still and let people backslide, that's what it's going to take. And each and every person that steps up is going to make a difference.
It is. It can feel so lonely and one off but the rising of the voices is when the all boats rise. That whole thing I think is and so that's such an encouraging thing to say.
Well, and there really is a groundswell of more understanding, because I had a talk with a lot of people about, oh my God, how totally ignorant I was of my privilege. Never thought of it.
This is gonna be part of us as white women, of part of our journey, of almost like the Girl Scout badges that we got here in the States as kids, of like, when did you get your I woke up that? And there's different variations of it, because there's still people that are thinking that are, let me give you a couple phrases of the helpful white women, or helpful people that are not helpful. I don't see color. Don't ever say that. Stop that, because you can't just say, well, I don't say a racial epithets, or I don't say this and that. You have to actively be anti-racist.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And so I know your goal, and I know for myself as well, is to elevate the voices and to amplify them as well, without white centering it, which is it's interesting to see it when somebody turns it into make me feel better about how badly you felt.
Yeah. And it's, we have
part of the journey.
Yeah, we have the same problems up here. We have a huge problem with our Indigenous peoples and the residential schools. This country just
wow.
Taking all the children away from their parents and putting them in these residential schools where they ended up being abused.
They did. They did. They were not allowed to say anything, and their language taken away from them, their heritage. You know, it's interesting. When I did my trip to the Maritimes with Adam Purcell, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. You know, sorry to say, I was a little. I had to go through that period of like, oh, you guys kind of suck too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, you've done some shitty shit too.
Yeah, there's no high horse up here. Anybody who's on their high horse up here and how great we are, go drop on your head.
Yeah.
You know, I and my heart will forever be in Scotland. I am a Brit through and through. My parents brought me here. They became citizens. I did not have a choice. I love this country. Absolutely, don't get me wrong. But my heart is in Scotland. And guess what? It's as bad there as well.
Okay.
There is no country. There is not a problem in some fashion. And it's unfortunate that it's been focused on one country. But if that's what it takes to get the world to wake the hell up, then part of it's a good thing.
It is. And, you know, change is messy, hon.
Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I think it's important that the names stay out there.
Yes.
Because they are important.
They are.
There are other names that I think after the 19th of January should never be uttered again.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And, you know, another interesting one is Elijah McClain is here in my hometown. Oh. And do you know his name?
Vaguely. I don't know enough about him.
Well, unfortunately, there's so many names to keep track of, and it's amazing. Yeah. And I had to have a little comeuppance with myself because he was killed here by Aurora police.
Oh, right. Yes.
Before he had the face cover on. Oh, that sweet boy. So I'm actually interviewing on Thursday one of the activists who's really working still quite actively on his campaign to get the officers fired and charged. So you know,
we're not different because we just went through it here. A mentally challenged man was beaten so badly that he died.
Oh, that hurts my heart. Oh.
And when the dust cleared from the court case, the police got off. And it just absolutely sickens me.
It does. And so the speaking out and the rising of the voices again, so that it's not just, you know, and quite frankly, even before last week, I was thinking, because I'm involved in a couple book clubs where I am the only white person.
Yeah.
I've actively sought out groups where I could sit and be a part of, be a safe person. I had to let them know, not a Karen. Just please. I know I look like one, but I'm not. And, you know, we were talking about the quieting down of the activism and the voice about Black Lives Matter. And of course, because of the election here, but I can see now once we kind of get past that, but thank you for that reminder, because I do know that from different countries, but it does get focused here, and it has to be a global effort.
It has to be, because the only way we're going to be able to change the systemic issues that we have. And that, to me, it was always part of it, because we're looking at the States going, yeah, well, it's there, but guess what? You know,
we're not as bad as that.
Absolutely.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I remember coming when I went to the Maritimes, and this was I think August of 2017. So we were literally just about 9 months in, and it was my first time traveling. No, I had traveled to Jamaica in April, and they were definitely like, what kind of fresh hell's happening up there?
Yeah.
Rightly so. But even, you know, being in Canada, and I would say I was American, and it'd be like, ooh, you know, I was like, deserved. Not me, but deserved.
Well, it's funny because in going to Britain, I know a lot of my American friends would put a Canadian flag on so they wouldn't get harassed.
Girl, I did that when I went to Italy the last time I went. A year and a half ago, and I went to Rome by myself for a week, and I made two concerted effort. One, to speak as little as possible, just observe, and then also if things went down, to say I was Canadian.
Well, you can be my sister in Canada.
Yeah, will you be my emotional support Canadian, because I'm soliciting many of them. It takes a village for this one here, so I need more than one. So thank you for being in the fold.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, going forward, I think our positivity, our good attitudes can only help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're into
boundaries and boundaries too.
Boundaries, absolutely. But even if you're into energy work, people who are into energy work, you can go into a conference room where everybody's not happy, and you can sit and bring the vibrations up just by being positive. Well, just imagine if we all do that.
Preach that good word. And thank you for bringing that in, because that is really part of my DNA, as well as an empath, as a seer, and a light worker. I'm going to get super woo you, which happy new moon today, by the way.
Yes.
You know how I love all the good stuff. And that is such a good reminder, because there's this balance. There's this all or nothing of toxic kindness and toxic nicety, which is, don't bring that up. And so that's how these things have been able to stay in there. So you can have this like wonderful balance of the positive vibration, but also calling stuff out when you see it, and it doesn't have to bring you down. Oh, if we can all aspire to that, good stuff's going to get done.
Bringing everything out of the corners, the shadows, and I'm going to go a step further and push this in suicide prevention, which is a big thing on my agenda, is those who are left behind.
Yeah.
I've always felt shame and didn't want to talk about it. But you know what? We can't stop it till we do talk about it.
Sure, that's the biggest dark corner. Absolutely. But I'm hoping, at least here in the States, that the emphasis is going to go back to mental wealth and wellness. I mean, that also has I need to do a show on that one. That one has a huge stigma to it.
Yes, absolutely.
You could have a gaping leg wound, or cancer, and so everybody will say there's this. But mental health and wellness is a huge piece to this. So the kindness of that, the kindness of taking a minute to see what somebody's going through. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I love that too, of the awareness.
Yeah, and I think in this this current culture of gaslighting, it makes it even harder for people that may be a bit unstable.
Sure.
How can you tell what's real? Somebody tells you something often enough, you start to wonder, that stupid old adage, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
It's embedded in the human brain. Those adages are around for a reason. And it does make it hard for anybody who's having a difficult time.
Amen to that. And I feel like what's been the phrase here in the States has been, you're going to believe me or your lying eyes. Like it's kind of the whole.
Oh, I like that.
It's an old blues line, but it's so true. And so when you get into that, and I think for a lot of us too, we're going to have a PTSD moment too. It's been incredibly traumatizing. And so the things that already are marginalized, which would be mental health and wellness, and even those who are on the wealth spectrum, and systemic racism, people are finally starting to get like, please don't act like white privilege doesn't exist, is what I said on my show the other night. White privilege doesn't mean your life hasn't been difficult. It means your life hasn't been difficult solely based on the color of your skin, period.
You don't leave the house. I had a friend who is Nigerian, I believe, said, "You cannot know how real this is until you fear for your children walking out the door every single time. Will they come back?" And that, to me, puts it all in perspective.
Yeah. It really does. It really does. And that's where I am glad that people are hearing these stories more. I had one of my friends was on the podcast as well, and we talked about the 2 and 10 and the things that Black families and families of color have known. And my podcast producer, who's a white man and super plugged in and gracious and kind-hearted, he was like, "Wow, I just never thought of it that way. I would have never thought to spoke to my kids, to tell my kids and coach them about where you keep your wallet, where you keep your insurance card, where you keep your hands, where you keep your eyes, in order to get home alive."
You have to be. Okay, because if I lived in the States, I would have been shot a long time ago, because I'm not really polite.
Okay. I'm super impatient with bullshit.
And my original accident involved a policeman, and much police harassment after. So I don't have a good taste in my mouth. So I'm not yes sir, no sir, ever.
Right. But then you also have the privilege of knowing that you could still get out of that. And I will give as a tip for people that are starting out on their activism journey, is we still do have to be careful, because one thing they've said is, if you see a person who's pulled over today, and it's a white police officer and a Black or brown person, like, you still have to hold careful space, because for me, I want to come out with the nunchucks and swing and like, what's going on? You still have to be quiet, observant, respectful, because they may still take that person in, and you can take your happy ass on home. So you don't know what the retribution is going to be towards that person rather than towards you. And that was a really telling lesson for me.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is huge. Yeah.
Because I went like, "Oh, that would be me." I would be like, "What the what's going on here?" and taking a video,
And absolutely. Yeah. And I think we've come to a place where it would be bizarre if people did not take out their video.
I do too. And I'm here for it.
And I think more power to you.
I do.
Okay.
I do. That's part of the reckoning.
Yeah. If you see something happening that is, I'm not necessarily police or whatever, but somebody's getting beat up, okay, a child or a whatever, if the numbers are wrong, one person and, 3 people or more, I'm sorry, step in, say something, call someone, do something.
Yeah.
You can't just turn a blind eye.
You can't. And what we're talking about too is the opposite of what was the overcorrection, which are white people having to come to terms with, stop getting in other people's business because it's based on your bias. That has been a very interesting year for that, because what the George Floyd incident happened the same weekend as the woman in Central Park who made the phone calls about the guy telling her, "Put your dog on a leash." And so that was a reality check for me to see, not that that's something I ever did, but I am seeing how common it is.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was just making a phone call. I was just being So it's the opposite of that, of stepping in when you see. I just saw somebody and I slowed down and waited until I saw the police pull away from someone this morning.
Yeah, and I think it's important that everybody is aware. I don't want to say don't be vigilant, because that's how you end up having worse problems.
Yeah.
Just be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what's going on. And something else that people, our disabled community and even in Canada, it's massive, huge.
Mm.
Okay, they have as many rights as we do.
Mm.
And something that you would know as well, Google Hangouts was phenomenal because there were a group of young people that were autistic on different areas of the spectrum. But Billy had a show, and it allowed him, to reach the rest of the world. He did great stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of people did. You can't discount anyone.
Mm.
And I told my kids when they were little, okay, I don't care what you think about someone else. I guarantee you they have a talent you do not have.
Mm.
So don't
Good thing to
assume.
teach them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good, and that's where the better version of I don't see color or I don't see this. It's just more that I see everyone as equitable.
Yeah.
When you are looking into that, I do think there's an uprising of it. There's a woman named Melissa Blake that I follow on Twitter, and I absolutely adore her. She has some form of I'm not sure what the condition is, but her facial features are definitely different. And she does this selfie a day now. She's so out loud and proud about how she looks. And then now everybody's supporting her, but she's also been very vocal about how the harassment, she's an amazing writer and a contributor on some different magazines about how the rise of the harassment and the horrible comments to her, how it increased.
Yeah, because as humans, when we're hurt, we lash out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a dog or a cat or
any animal,
an alligator that's hurt. You want to help it, but it doesn't understand the help. It's lashing out in pain. Well, humans do the same thing, which is kind of sad. But yeah, well, my friend.
True.
Ryan Lithell does a column in Ottawa Magazine. He's a great writer. He is confined to a wheelchair. He just turned 46, had his birthday. He's awesome, absolutely awesome. And there are tons of people that are differently abled.
Differently abled, yes.
That have talents we don't have.
Yeah.
I can't write to save my life.
Yeah, I can read like a mofo.
I can read. Yeah.
I'm a good reader. I always say that I'm not a good writer. I can write some, but I could. So yeah, I love what you said to your kids, like the message of they guarantee they've got something that you don't have.
Well, yeah, and the funny thing was, it was the youngest was 7, and he was a bit of a math genius, and our daughter's 9 years older, and we had a children's wear store. She was about 15, and he would do the cash out at night because he liked to count the money and the MasterCard. And he made some comment to her one day, and it was nasty, and he made her cry. And that was it. It took him into my office and said, okay, listen, okay, your sister is an incredible artist. Look at all, you can't do that.
Right.
So should she make fun of you? Okay, like doesn't matter. And my cousin had a very serious form of mental deficiency, and 1 in more than 600,000 people have it. But she could memorize everything and anything. Wow. And she would do 100,000 piece puzzles from the middle out.
Wow.
Not looking at the box. Like, it was just, she had all kinds of funky things that she did. And it was like, wow, that's a talent. And I worked at a regional school all through high school as a volunteer. And then I worked there summers and got to see that even those that have like serious challenges,
right,
they have a talent that we don't have.
I think that is the thing, is to normalize and denormalize what we thought was, because this bar that we hit is actually not the norm for most people. If you start looking at the differently abled and everything that we've got, this spectrum. And one of my favorite interviews, and I still keep in touch with her, is Temple Grandin. Is the woman that's the autistic spectrum, that's created all these amazing. She's a vet here, or a professor here for a vet university here. So she really will get you started on that, of like just realizing that all these different talents, and then also bringing forth a lot of the talents that we thought we didn't have, because we're pigeonholed by either societal norms or
and look at Les Brown. Okay, Les Brown as a child was told that he was mentally retarded and he needed to be held back. And he was, oh my God, he's not. He's one of the greatest speakers in the world.
Yeah.
I just find him amazing.
That's cool.
But if you allow what others say, and I like the attitude of knowing that everybody has something, and knowing that, well, maybe you can't, whatever. My son can't skate. Okay.
So funny.
I have no hand-eye coordination, so I am the worst video gamer on the planet. But
I'm terrible at distance.
Things I do okay.
Yes. Yeah. But I think it's because I always say I'm terrible at distance because I was never interested in football. So don't ask me what 100 yards is. I don't know.
Down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care. Hockey, now that's different. I like
yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Well, this has been amazing. It's just,
thank you.
I hope our audience appreciates just how amazing this has been. We've just been having an incredible conversation, and I am so honored, and thank you so much, Mia, for coming and being on the show. I think we touched on a lot of things that are going to keep the conversations going, and I think that's important.
I do too. I appreciate you, us being able to just work out some of the current events, because this topic and what's happening is evergreen for sure.
Yeah.
But hopefully it will be more in a historical sense of when we used to not be as lit up and engaged, for sure. The world in general.
I think, and I think that the spirituality that is blossoming.
Yes.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. Age of Aquarius, honey.
Yep. So the last thing I do with the show, I always ask my guests to leave our audience with a little tweak, tip, hack that you use either personally or in business on a regular basis.
I have two. So as trite as it sounds, meditating when you first wake up. Just hands down, before you hit the phone. If you even need to get the phone to get on YouTube, because I listen to a lot of these meditation videos that have binaural beats in them. Yes. And so they've the waves, the brain waves. Those are lovely. Even if you can just do 5 minutes to ground into your strength, because what you're talking about with the spiritual piece to it, you literally, if you are grounded, are going to make better decisions. You're not going to be as jumping at conclusions or jumping at people if you're grounded in yourself. So from a business and a personal standpoint, it's pretty good. It just feels really hard to do, but at least, and a little bit when you go to sleep too, to release the day. And then one other thing I love to do, and I've been doing so much more because of the way the world is and people losing businesses, is go leave Google reviews for all your favorite businesses. Even if you haven't been able to get to them, just go leave them a Google review. If you have photos on your phone that you forgot to post, just go over to Google, look up their business. And leave them a quick review. So that's the easiest way you can do something. Even if obviously we haven't been able to get to places, but if you remember you loved your vet, if you remember you loved your dentist, your grocery store, your restaurant, just go leave them a review. What's it going to
Absolutely. That's such a good point. Thank you so much, Mia.
Sure. Thank you.
Really, really appreciate that.
Thank you, honey.
Well, thank you. This has been Mia Voss. As usual, you'll be able to find out more information, get all of her social links on her page on BBP TV. And I will see you in 2 weeks.
Yay.
On that note, go make your today absolutely spectacular and do that every day.
Yes, ma'am. Here's the heart.